Hello, everyone. My name is Kristin Cortese, and I'm a regional account executive here at Scoir. I'd like to thank Access for the opportunity to host this webinar today. I also want to thank all counselors who are joining today. I know your time is valuable, especially as we're approaching these crucial application deadlines in November here. So thank you for your time. My focus will be to talk about my background as a college counselor with Villa Maria Academy, a private all-girls high school in Malvern, PA, and explain how we use the Scoir platform with our school students and families. Here's what I plan to cover today. I want to give some information about my professional journey with Scoir. I'm going to highlight how we use Scoir to support our college career counseling curriculum. I want to share a little bit about the student success we saw throughout the 5 years that I was at Villa while using the Scoir platform. And we're going to leave a little time at the end here for some Q&A at the end. Before we dive in, you should be prompted to answer a quick poll question for us. If you could, take a few seconds right now to answer that question, and then we'll get started. All right, looks like most of you have answered, so we're gonna get going here. So a little background about me. I started working at Villa as a counselor in 2014. At that time, we were a department of counselors who did both school and college counseling. And we used at the time a standard college career platform with our students. We decided to transition to Scoir in 2016 and officially submitted supporting application documents starting with the class of the 2017. It was an innovative experience working with Scoir from the beginning. It was very collaborative, and above all else, as counselors, we really felt heard and validated in terms of what our students' needs were and what our counselors' needs were. So it was a fun experience to take a look at certain things and features that we were hoping for out of a platform, being able to express those things and then see that stuff become reality. Our department shifted a little bit in 2017, 2018 school year. We ended up splitting into a school counseling team and a college counseling team with 2 directors. And at that time, that's when I was appointed director of college counseling. At this time, we were also given a permission to have extended seminar time with all 4 grades as a counseling curriculum, something we hadn't had before. So our school counseling predominantly taught our grades 9 through 10 in their seminar, and then the college counseling team taught grades 11 and 12. As a director of college counseling, I believe strongly in higher education as the surest path towards satisfying opportunities. And while I may have taken a career shift from counseling to customer success, I'm in a position to continue supporting that core belief. Scoir sets out to help demystify the college search and application process and give students the support they need to let their unique talents and interests guide the path for their future. Before I show what Scoir features we focused on each year, I'm going to share a little bit about the curriculum themes that we had developed. Villa Maria's mascot is a hurricane. And so as a counseling department, we branded ourselves as the eye of the hurricane, or the calm in the storm. So as I'm going through each year and how we utilize Scoir in our curriculum, you're going to see a theme of different I words that help highlight the features and things that we used with students during that specific year. So in grade 9 was the identify year. We believe that 9th grade should be a full orientation year into high school. And so we use certain elements of the Scoir platform to complement this intro into high school. Grade 9 had a counseling seminar class for the first quarter of the year, and it was taught by the school counseling team. The college counseling team came in for 1 class, and we did an intro on Scoir. So during this class, we did the following. We gave a broad intro into what Scoir was and how it's going to be used over the 4 years in high school. We assisted with initial sign-in and ensured that all grade 9 are registered. We reviewed certain elements of their profile. So we described academic progression and defined for them for the first time what weighted and unweighted GPA was. And we showed them where they can see who their assigned college counselor is. We showed the activities and achievements section of their profile and how to add and edit this field. And we use this as an opportunity to really promote our campus activities fair that we offered every year for freshmen, encouraging exploration, involvement, and show them a sample resume template they will access later in high school. We also reviewed the My Drive feature and explained that counselors may put experiential experience opportunities here for them to review. And we encourage them to use this as a placeholder for special assignments, achievements that they might be proud of. So maybe a paper that they did really well on, or an award that they received in school. Kind of keep this as a database for themselves, utilizing their My Drive on Scoir. We reviewed the messaging feature, and at this time, we also encouraged them to download the mobile app for Scoir as well. And finally, we showed them where they can access a counselor's office hours. We welcome freshmen to make an appointment with their college counselor if they have any curiosities or questions, particularly any student that may be serious about playing collegiate sports. We encourage those freshmen to come see us and talk that through a little bit so that those students were on our radar as well a little bit earlier in the process. While we intentionally didn't review the college search feature in this class, there usually was a few minutes remaining, and Scoir is so intuitive that they typically found that themselves. It was exciting and fun for them to share what they were finding. As a PA school, they typically were finding all the campuses that had palm trees and beaches on them. So it was an exciting time for them to know that this tool they had access to. Our grade 10 theme was investigate. So it was really looking inward and investigating who they are and how they contribute to society, how they contribute to a team and a group. So our 10th grade students had a quarter-long seminar course that met in the second and third quarters, kind of straddled the two. And again, our school counselors taught this course, but the college counselors did come in for a class, and we reviewed some of the following information on their Scoir platforms. We talked a lot about test taking in the 10th grade year. So we went over how to understand your PSAT results, the steps for registering for the SAT and ACT, and how to locate this information and where their scores are going to be uploaded into their Scoir account via their profile page under the academic overview. We took a deeper dive into the activities resume and discussed quality over quantity at this point. So ways to invest in activities that they really enjoy, opportunities to obtain leadership in those activities, etc. We also reviewed how to describe said activities and offered resources for verbiage to use in their Scoir My Drive. The big thing we introduced in the 10th grade year as well is the U Science assessment, which correlated with the additional self-discovery activities our school counselors were already doing within the seminar. We explained how the U Science evaluation will be a resource reference during course selection for their upperclassmen course trajectory. So school counselors helped with the completion of that assessment and helping students explore and save careers from their results. We did a more in-depth review of the Scoir calendar and showed the students what it looks like when college reps sign up to visit VMA, something that they can look forward to and participating in the junior and senior year at our school. In the sophomore year, we asked the students to also invite a parent. So we didn't want parents on as freshmen, as I mentioned. We really wanted to hone in on freshman year being an orientation year for high school. At sophomore year, this was a time that we showed them how to invite a parent to their parent platform account. We sent out notification to parents to give them a brief background about the platform and encourage them to keep an eye out for the invite via their email to register their parent portal. We reviewed Scoir more in depth with the parents during our PSAT night. Grade 11 was all about taking those things that they learned freshman, sophomore year and implementing them. So implement was the theme for junior year. And how do they take those things that they've learned about themselves, strengths, et cetera, and apply that to their college search, career explorations. So the college counselors taught a semester-long seminar course during the spring semester of the junior year. We hosted a parent-student college kickoff night each fall, usually around November, December, as an intro to the expectations of the course, and then getting an overview of what the college search and application process will look like. Some of the things we walked through with the students was a Scoir Discover piece. That's usually how we started our seminar. So they were setting their preferences for what they might want out of a college experience and using that information to develop their follow list on the application pipeline. They did exercises that encouraged exploration on the platform and asked students to see what we asked students to see what they can find out about schools that they've maybe never heard of before by utilizing the UVisit feature on the Scoir platform and the Campus Reel feature, along with the wall feature. So really developing an understanding of what kind of activities and student life is like on on the campuses. Students had an opportunity to explore the Scattergram feature and set their acceptance likelihood for the colleges that they're placing on their follow list. As counselors, we reviewed this feature with the students during individual meetings with them, just to make sure that we're both on the same page, along with parents. Junior students had deliverables that they needed to produce throughout this seminar. In particular, they updated their activities resume, and we showed them how to use the export resume template feature in Scoir so that they could hand that in for us to take a look at, make sure that it's ready to go for senior year. They also provided a draft of their college essay in their My Drive for their counselor to review. Students also had the option to allow access for their parent to be able to view that as well if they chose to. But it was a nice collaborative space that we used. Some additional things that the juniors did in their seminar: they began placing some schools on their applying list so that their counselor could monitor balance as they were approaching the summer months. Students were also asked to request their teacher recommendation letters with a due date in May that we set through Scoir. Teachers received an overview from our team, and we tried to get someone to do a professional development workshop at least every other year to help teachers in terms of recommendation letter writing. Prior to the seminar course in the spring, we had a class meeting with the juniors at the beginning of the school year to review proper protocol for signing up to attend rep visits through Scoir. We showed them how to do that through Scoir, which was super easy. Then we also went over the expectations and guidelines that our school wanted us to ensure, like how to properly let a teacher know that they're going to be missing class, or what they needed to wear for visits, etc. And finally, by the time we get to the senior year, it was all about the imagine piece. So imagine your potential, imagine what's out there for you, taking those 3 other years of curriculum, and the sky's the limit at this point. How do we set you up for your next steps? So the college counselors taught a semester seminar course for seniors in the fall. Some of the features that we reviewed include the FERPA agreement, how to sign that on Scoir so that we had that as part of our managed documents to send to with their supporting documents to the colleges they're applying to. We went over completing and reviewing their applying list through Scoir and how to request submission of their supporting application documents by moving those schools over to their applied list. In mirroring with our school culture, we expressed and reminded how important it was for the students to update their decisions to help future students utilizing the Scattergram determine a balanced application list. And in an effort not to cloud their My Drive on Scoir, because we used it as a collaborative space for communication, a suggestion that I made, and I believe that the counseling team there now is going to utilize for this year, was to set each senior with their own Google Drive folder that only they, their college counselor, and our registrar had access to. Then seniors will be asked to drop all acceptance letters and links along with scholarship information into that drive folder. The registrar is going to be responsible for inputting the scholarship information from those folders into our Scoir account for data collection on our end. And then we also announced the total earned for the class during their honors convocation ceremony in the spring. So Scoir made that super easy, totaling that as you input the information. So some of the successes that we saw, and we strongly believe it was in using the Scoir platform. We saw over a 5-year trajectory that our average applications decreased. And I want to point out that that remains steady even during the pandemic, when a lot of our colleagues were reporting an influx in students applying because there was a lot of uncertainty. So students were submitting more applications than typical. We saw that steady, and we saw the decrease of the average amount of applications that our students were applying to. We had determined that our students and families this was due to them conducting more purposeful searches by utilizing the features in Scoir. Our students ended up expanding their exploration, which resulted in an increase in enrollment locations and institutions. In our class of 2021 alone, we even had 3 students enroll in colleges at Prague, Italy, and in Ireland for their undergraduate degree. Additionally, we saw a decrease in transfers after the freshman year in those most recent years. And we truly feel that this is a testament to the Scoir platform, along with our college and counseling curriculum, helping students find the right fit school after high school. Some of the things that I valued as a counselor in using Scoir, the efficiency that this platform provided allowed me more face-to-face time with my students. I know that with all the administrative aspects that are expected of the role, there was no way I could have kept up with teaching seminar courses, multiple classes throughout the entire school year while utilizing a different resource. Scoir made that super easy and concise for me. I absolutely love the electronic log of meetings and updates that I could keep up with on students by securely keeping my notes in the notes section on each student's profile. So I had no more piles of chicken scratch paper notes about student meetings and piles of folders that the school counselors would pass along to the college counselors once we were meeting with them more. Everything was secure and concise and logged on each student's page for only my view. The tools for collaboration, such as the surveys, messaging, the suggested list in the application pipeline, these were all great ways to streamline communication and great ways to keep tabs on my students as they navigated the first of this many adult-like processes that they're going to encounter. Student engagement became super easy. Of all the platforms that students use in the application search process, Scoir was by far the easiest and most enjoyable to navigate. So a happy student equates to a happy counselor, or rather, happy student means happy parent, and then happy counselor. Reports were quick and easy to access. I appreciate specifying reports however I liked through the use of the filters. I had to announce, part of my role was announcing the seniors application stats each year for our honors convocation ceremony. And the reports feature made preparing that speech an effortless task. And finally, I can't speak high enough for the dedicated customer service that Scoir consistently provided us at Villa. In addition to seeing our requests become reality, the occasional hiccups were easily and quickly rectified with a support ticket or a quick email and call. So with that being said, we're going to leave a few seconds here. If you could take a minute to fill out this poll question. And then we'll jump right into a little bit of Q&A if you have some questions that I could provide some clarity and answers to. All right, terrific. Thank you for filling that out for us. I'm going to actually. Excellent question from Alex. Do students have a to match their Common App with Scoir? No, they do not. We're set. It's two separate entities. So students going to use whether it's Common App Coalition, school website to actually apply. And then Scoir is utilized for that electronic submission of their supporting documents. So they're two separate entities. So students keeping up with their Scoir account ensures that they're requesting their transcripts and other supporting documents to be sent to the colleges. Yes, so the question is, do teachers have to create an account with Scoir to upload letters of rec? Yes, so the teacher platform is pretty simplistic. The only elements that they have on there are to see what letters have been requested of them and the ability to then upload the letters through Scoir. So there's a quick, easy registration for them to have access to that teacher platform. The other feature that teachers have on their end as well is, as a counselor, if I put together, let's say, a junior year brag sheet as a survey to the students, I can indicate if I want teachers to be able to review those results so that they can utilize that as a resource when they're writing letters of recommendation. So as a counselor, I could indicate who sees the results of that survey. And if I indicate that teachers can see it, then teachers have access to that as well if they're writing letters of recommendation. The question was, does Scoir use Clever? Yes, we do sync with Clever. Marianne, that's correct. So Scoir does have a place for the Common App ID. That is just for good measure. It doesn't sync with Common App. In the event that you may have to call a college, more information is better than less. So if by chance you need quick access, if you're giving them a call and you need a student's Common App ID, you have that reference there. It's important to note too that a student only has to put that in one time. If they don't put it in, it doesn't prevent them from doing anything with their application pipeline. But if they put it in one time, it automatically populates for them for any school that they applied Common App for, and they indicate that when they applied. Like I said, the student does not have to put their Common App ID into Scoir to send documents. So if they don't, they skip that part, that's totally fine. It doesn't prevent anything from going to the colleges. I actually use the Scoir Counselor app often for messaging. So quick messages to students. It was a quick access point, and for the students that had the mobile app as well, it gave them a push notification that I sent them a quick message. In particular, that senior year, with deadlines over weekends and things like that, I found that the Counselor app was hugely helpful for that. Sure. So Katie asked about the career and college inventories. So in terms of inventories, that's where the youth science assessment comes into play. Youth science it consists of 9 brain game aptitude measurements, followed by 2 interest inquiries. And when a student completes those 11 total pieces, it gives them a full report of everything from their strengths, how they operate in a team, how they contribute to a group, to a full list of careers that they may find most satisfying, the educational investment that is required of those careers, what a day in the life is like, and then also matches those careers with with specific majors that they might want to consider to pursue that kind of career. Students then have an opportunity to save the careers that they're interested in, and it automatically populates onto their profile page on Scoir, so that counselor and student has access to view and see. Yes, Alex, we can. Part of the initial setup of a school's Scoir account is that we give you instructions on how to export the previous data that you might have, historical data that you have from a former platform. And we utilize that. Specifically, we can do that for Naviance. We utilize that when we're creating your school account so that you have all that historic data under your Scoir account. Yes, so Andrea, can counselors turn off the option for students sending teacher letter of recs, so only counselors can send? So students don't have access to send letters of recommendation. Most schools prefer that teachers can't directly submit letters to the colleges. They prefer that the counselor does all that. So I'd say most school accounts, the only person, you can set that in your school setting, that the only person that can submit the supporting documents is the counselor. In certain situations, for some schools, perhaps with bigger caseloads, they'd prefer their teachers to be able to send the letters directly. And if in those circumstances, we can turn that feature on for that school. But like I said, most schools would prefer that the counselor submits. Students don't submit the letters. I personally haven't, Scott, just to answer your question, I personally haven't utilized the amplifiers in U-Science. In terms of rank, right now, the academic overview section of the profile visible for counselors consists of the weighted, unweighted GPA and the testing scores that a student has, the tests that they've taken and the scores they've received. At this time, there isn't a placeholder for rank. Yes. So do counselors receive notifications when a student adds a school to the active list? Yes. As soon as a student has officially submitted an application, it's a simple drag and drop for them to put that school onto their applied list. And as soon as they do that, the counselor receives a notification in their Scoir platform, also receives a notification via email indicating that the student has officially applied, and then they're ready for their supporting documents to be sent. Great question. How does our pricing structure work per student? So for a single high school, our pricing is 12 cents per student per month, comes out to $1.44 per student per year. For a school district with multi-high schools, it's 14 cents a month per student per year. It's also important to note that any schools that are Title I eligible, our platform is free for Title I eligible schools. Great question. So we asked students to complete their application at least 3 weeks before the college's deadline to avoid last minute letters of recommendation, et cetera. How could we facilitate this on Scoir? That's fantastic. So in terms of communication with students, quick messaging via email or the messaging system through Scoir, you can give reminders. So if you have school sanctioned deadlines, if you have a November 1st deadline, you need to have your application submitted by October 15th, you have that access to be able to communicate that to students through Scoir. And yeah, I mean, in terms of recommendation requests, as I had mentioned, we would do that throughout the junior year and made it a deliverable for our juniors. There's a set date that you can put in your school settings of when recommendation requests need to be completed, so that the students get a notification when they sign in stating that you have to request teacher recommendations by. Great question. So the information, so great question. Do teacher recommendations have access? I'm sorry, teacher recommenders have access to student data such as resume or their essay draft through their account. So teachers, that information would typically be stored in the student's My Drive. The teacher doesn't have access to the My Drive. But if there's key information that you would like a teacher to access and view, like I mentioned, there's a feature on the counselor end when you create a survey. If you want them to see responses from a student, you can indicate that when you create the survey. So there is not a notification for when a teacher uploaded a letter. However, there is a filter that you can monitor that accordingly. So there's a filter access to get a quick snapshot of the recommendation request that went out, and then which letters are outstanding and which letters have been completed. So there's a really easy access way to be able to monitor that in lieu of getting a notification every time a teacher uploads a letter. Great question. I have future actors, dancers, musicians, writers, visual arts. I don't see a category for them on use science. Through the interest area of the two assessment interest area, there should be questions on the arts and interest in that way that should populate careers. So perhaps we could talk about that a little further, careers in the arts. Students input the teacher request and Scoir, and the teacher receives a notification. Yes, that's correct. Do teachers approve this request? Yes, teachers have the ability to approve or decline. So, again, I think just in the culture of our school, the protocol and process that we had was our students actually had to formally ask teachers face-to-face first. So we had a deadline for that by the end of April. And then we did our lesson in class on how to do the request through Scoir once they received acknowledgement that the teacher had agreed to write their letter of recommendation. That was just a personal thing that we did as a school community and culture. But yeah, so a teacher has the ability to accept or decline. So the Common App eval and counselor eval forms are not a necessity with the application supporting documents. So because we don't submit anything through, none of the supporting documents get submitted through Common App, it goes right through Scoir. Those forms that you're referring to are not a necessity and don't need to be filled out. So what I couldn't share, there's a question, what data sharing agreement does your company use and can you send a copy? So in terms of security, we're happy to provide the security measures and clearances that we have. In terms of student PII, personal identification information, we don't share any of the profile, academic, email, contact information of students. So that's a feature that sets us a little bit of apart. We don't sell any of their information. I think if that's what you're referring to, Nakira, I hope I answered that correctly. Nakira, I can definitely follow up with you after the webinar today to see what we have on file in terms of our working with Louisiana schools. Thank you for bringing that up. Awesome. Thanks, Megan. Great question. So we are not integrated with rep visits. Our Scoir calendar is a complete replacement of rep visits. So same features that the rep visits would utilize. We're a separate entity and does all the same functionality. Again, we're sensitive to your time, given the time of year here, especially counselors. I'll leave this open for another minute or two here. If there's any final questions that you want to bring to the chat, feel free to do so at this time. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I hope that some of this information was helpful. And if you indicated interest in learning more, we'll be sure to follow up with you to talk about a little bit more about what your school needs are and how Scoir could better assist. So best of luck as we're approaching November. Thank you for spending time with us. Take care and have a great day.